right, and I believe that should have worked. And we should be live. We're back with Uncanny Adventures. Woohoo! Thank you for the host. We are playing some Call of Cthulhu, Beneath the Burning Sun. We are missing one theater nerd this week, but they will be back next time, and we're thinking about you.
We're sending them good vibes.
We are indeed. But we do have the rest of our investigators here this evening. So we're going to go around and say hi and jump back into our adventure. So why don't we start with our young Baxter. Baxter, what's going on tonight?
I am Taru. I'm playing Baxter. And who is this young ruffian, and I have an job interview today.
Indeed, you are looking for a gainful employment within the town of Shade. Meanwhile, we have our geologist, scientist, Samuel Smith. What's going on?
That would be me. I'm Ray, and I'm playing Samuel, the geologist, and just woke up from a pretty strange dream.
Indeed. And our woman of God, Sister Michal. Welcome back.
Good to be back. I'm Joanna. I play Sister Michal. Like my character, I'm tired.
That's what happens when you get woken up in the middle of the night. So we are back. In fact, last session, the investigators did have a bit of a rough evening after moving about town, making acquaintances with some more locals, perhaps imbibing too much alcohol on the part of some members of the group, and then trying to settle in for an evening to rest, and planning to go and deal with job interviews the next day, and also to check out this miracle cure that's been up for sale in town.
Corelli's Miracle Elixir.
Miracle Elixir, yeah. I mean, it sounds like a good deal, but after everyone went off to bed, various members of the party found themselves having some very disturbing dreams. Baxter was fine. Baxter slept great and didn't know what was going on when he was woken from a comfortable sleep by someone shouting from somewhere in the center of town. Sister Michal and Samuel may have seen the other in their dream, but I mean, those things happen when you travel together and you get to know people. And Marshal Wallace probably had the worst. Well, Marshal Wallace probably had the worst of it, as their dream was much more pronounced and very vivid and very disturbing, so much so that waking up it was very hard to kind of shake it, and just the sight of water itself sort of had the Marshal on edge, as out in the street there was a commotion and an individual threw themselves bodily into a trough full of water, submerging themselves. At which point, two of that individual's friends, acquaintances, managed to grab them and wrestle them back out of the water. And the commotion was heard all the way across town. Baxter and Samuel, along with the priest from the church, quickly made their way there. Marshal Wallace made her way downstairs, but upon seeing the trough full of water, turned and stumbled back into the boarding house and upstairs and to her room, shutting the door behind her. And Sister Michal, after maybe settling your mind a little bit, putting your mind at ease that you were conscious, awake, and things were solid and okay, you followed after the others, but at a slower pace.
Practicing mindfulness in 1877.
you got to take care of yourself. So we come back as Baxter and Samuel. You are coming up the main street, and you can see this group of people. You recognize the tall form, the broad, chested Lance from the boarding house. You definitely recognize his voice booming out, trying to find out what happened. You can just make out it's kind of just dawn, so the sun's only just rising, but you can make out 3 figures. 2 people are holding this one in the center by the under the shoulders, and there's just a cacophony of like people talking as you're approaching. What do you 2 want to do?
Guess I'll approach the nearest individual. Excuse me, what's going on over here? What's all the ruckus?
So you approach, and you actually come up alongside Lance's daughter, who is standing there, and she looks over at you, and she says, "Oh, Samuel, right? Oh,
Indeed.
No, it's I don't really know. I was sound asleep and just heard a commotion, and my father, I heard him go running out through the main room of the boarding house, and I heard him throw open the door, and this fellow looks like he just tried to take a nightly swim, I guess. I don't know really what's going on. He seems distraught. He's muttering over there, but I can't make out what he's saying."
You didn't happen to see our friend the sheriff around, have you?
Oh, Marshal,
Marshall, I'm sorry.
just had just come down as I was coming out the front door. She fell over that chair that was outside the door, but made her way downstairs, and I don't, maybe she went back in. I don't see her here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Guess I'll push through the crowd and try and get a better look.
All right, so you push through, and you can see right behind you the priest is kind of moving through as well, sort of like, "Oh, let me through. Maybe I can help. What's going on?" As the 2 of you both make your way up there. Baxter, what are you doing while this is happening?
I try to stay back and out of the way.
Okay. So Reverend Bowman pushes up alongside you, and you can see these 3 individuals. The one in the center is dressed in long johns, and he is just dripping from head to toe. His shoulder-length hair is completely saturated, and he is just sort of staring around. His eyes kind of have this glazed look, and his lips are kind of moving. Do you want to give me a listen roll to see if you can make out what he's sort of muttering?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
What's that?
Who was doing that role?
That could be both of you. It would be would have been a hard success for Baxter because he's further back. But both of you, you can't really make out what he's muttering. The priest sort of leans down and is like kind of whispering to this gentleman in a low voice, like, "Are you all right, my son? What seems to be the problem? Are you okay?" And he's like, I don't know what he's saying. He seems very distraught. And he kind of waves a hand in front of his eyes. And the guy, he doesn't seem to follow the hand. And one of the 2 gentlemen on the other side of him says, "I don't know why he just go throw himself in the trough like that. He's been complaining about bad dreams for a little bit last few days, but I don't understand why he'd just go and do that. I mean, it seemed like he wasn't even going to let us pull him out. He's just going to stay under till he stopped breathing."
Yikes.
That's most interesting. Sam is a little taken back by this action, obviously. Seems to be strange. I had almost a similar dream myself last night.
Did you go throwing yourself in a trough, mister?
Do I look like I did?
No, not currently. But Thomas here, I don't understand why he'd go and do that.
That's pretty strange. Was he imbibing too much last night, maybe?
I mean, no more than usual. We generally, we all got claims out in the hills, and we generally come into town, maybe every other week, try to meet up, see how the other one's doing, things like that, see if maybe it's time to move around a little bit, move closer to one claim or another, and but the last couple times we met, he's been saying that he's not sleeping so well, and now he just gone and done. He woke up, he screams, he goes running out, and comes out of the boarding house running, and runs directly across the street and just dumps himself in here like, I have no idea.
Where were y'all hanging out last night?
Well, we mostly just came down and just had a couple of drinks here at the boarding house itself, versus sometimes we'll go to the saloon and we'll have some drinks, usually the Rattler's Nest, but we decided to steer clear because last time we were in town, Henry over there, and he points at the guy on the other side of him, well, he almost got himself arrested for being real stupid, so we decided to just low-key it this time.
It's a good idea. It was pretty rough there last night.
See,
Where were we before the Rattler's Nest? Weren't we at the boarding house?
You did. Yep, you did go to the boarding house.
Yep.
So, did we see this person there?
You have not. This is the first you've seen these three.
What time did you say you were at the boarding house?
I don't know. We had dinner there. Might have been there a little bit before that. I mean, stopped at the general store to pick up some, place an order for some goods to pick up to head back to our claims today. It's today, and but otherwise just we were mostly there probably just before dinner time, I'd say.
And did you have anything out of the ordinary?
No, I had some beef stew, and Thomas had he just had some, same as me. Do you think beef stew? Lance is like, my beef stew is perfectly okay. It's actually quite tasty.
Yeah, I'm just not too sold on this cattle, but we'll see. I guess Samuel doesn't really have anything else to ask, so I think he's just gonna regroup with Baxter at this point.
Okay.
And he'll just go on being like, I don't know what the deal with these guys are. Something's weird, but they don't know too much, and they really didn't do anything strange.
You see the priest kind of lean back in and kind of start to sort of talk to him again. He takes his cross out and he's kind of just quietly kind of chatting to him, like hand on his shoulder, just calmly, as he's just trying to bring him out of his stupor, which he does not seem to be successful at, as the man continues to just sort of mutter and whisper, and the others just kind of looking around uncomfortably. At this point, Sister Michal, you are kind of coming up the street. You see Samuel sort of moving back out of this small group of people to where Baxter is standing at the back of the crowd. And you just see this whole little commotion taking place at the moment.
I'm going to move up to Baxter and Samuel and say, looking over at the crowd, quite the congregation. What has happened?
I don't think it's a prayer circle. Seems to be this fellow over here decided he was going to take a nap in the trough last night.
Most unsettling.
Extremely. They supposedly were at the boarding house, but I didn't see him there, and they don't really have any other information that would help us figure anything out here. Or at least, maybe I didn't ask the right questions.
Do we see the town marshal?
You see him, he's coming up the street now, like, kind of looks like it took him a little extra time to kind of get out of his office and head in this direction, but he is making his way in this direction now, but he's probably about a block away.
How far is the office from here?
So the office from here it's like just down around the corner. So he literally is only just now making his way there.
That's strange. Why would the marshal have take so long time to get here? Think they would be ready to go?
Maybe he was asleep.
Lousy marshal then.
And he, as you're saying that, he kind of comes walking up and sort of comes up alongside you all. What is it what's going on here? What's happening? What's the problem? And the group's kind of parts, and Reverend Bowman looks up and is, Marshal, yes. Marshal Otis, this fellow seems to have had some kind of
He took
break.
a dip in the trout.
What's that?
Took a dip in the... What was the thing?
Oh,
Trough.
yes,
Trough.
he jumped. Yes, the young man is right. He seems to have submerged himself in the trough, and I can't seem to get him to come out of the stupor that he's in. The marshal looks around and he says, "Well, has anybody thought about sending for the doctor?" And he looks, and Lance looks back at you all, and he's like, "You there! You! Hey!" And he points at Baxter. "Do you know where the doctor's office is?"
Did I walk past it? Yeah, we went to see the surgeon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
took a body there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Do you want to go get the doctor for them?
Sure.
Okay. That one's gonna go get the doctor for you, Marshal Otis. And the marshal kind of looks in your direction and gives you just a kind of a curt thank you nod. Tips his hat.
I'm going to step forward towards the Reverend and place my hand on his shoulder and sort of move him a little bit to the side and say, "May I? Some things require a woman's touch."
"Oh, yes, sister. Please." And he will move aside and give you some room. The other two kind of lower this gentleman down, so he's now kind of sitting on the edge of the trough. You can, if you want to, make a listen roll as he's still muttering.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, knew I wouldn't succeed, but
Everybody's ears have some buildup from sleeping. Yeah, so you just hear, you can't make out the words he's muttering, but they sit him down, and he like looks in your direction, but his just this not focusing at all, just completely kind of glazed look on his face.
Would I be able to do a psychology roll to see if I can ascertain what precisely this is? Whether this is some kind of, obviously using modern terms for something that's happening in 1877, but like a dissociative episode or something of that nature? Like,
Yeah, you can definitely roll psychology to see if you can maybe try to figure out what's going on with him.
whew.
So, nice. So, you looking at him, your best guess would be like he seems like he's despondent, maybe almost kind of in shock, and that's kind of why he's unresponsive. Like he's had maybe some kind of emotional trauma that hit him really, really hard, and he's not snapping out of it.
I'm going to look at one of the people who put him down and say, has this man experienced any severe psychological trauma recently? Was he perhaps involved in the war?
I mean...
Or suffered any losses more recently?
I don't think so. Thomas is, I don't think he's got any of that. He's usually, he's pretty funny fella and, real personable like. That's why we kind of like to spend time with him and stuff. He's been out here for a while and, he always seems to have just kind of a good disposition. I mean, but of late, he's been a little more kind of down, but no explanation as to why, just, that he, ain't been sleeping that well.
And has he been sleeping here at the boarding house?
We usually stay here just, like I said, every week or so when we come in. Mostly we stay up at our various claims. And,
Have either of you experienced anything similar?
The other gentleman who's standing there, he says, well, I've had a dream here or there, but nothing like that I think's that bad. I mean, sometimes you just don't feel really that great when you go off to sleep, or you've got a lot of, like I got stress if I don't collect enough silver from my claim, and I'm not making enough to kind of make ends meet. But no, not really. The Father or Reverend Bowman looks at you and says, I have had others complain of late of just some trouble with their sleeping and things like that. We've actually had a few people who have had accidents or things like that, and we've had a few townspeople who have passed on because of just
lack of sleep.
Perhaps, just maybe they've become a little too overexhausted and just not paying attention when they should, and things happen.
Would there be any connection between those individuals and Thomas here?
Well, it's a number of other miners and prospectors have been the ones that have been afflicted by this. It's unfortunately when you have a situation, this is a place where people make poor decisions and maybe their faith falls away from them and they are afflicted by the darker things in the world, and sometimes those things can weigh on them if they don't do something about it. You know how it is if you lose your connection to your faith.
Indeed. I do very well. I'm gonna do something stupid.
I love it.
I am going to try and like grasp Thomas's face to try and, as much as I can with his eyes not focusing, look into his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say the Lord's Prayer.
All right. When you do, give me another psychology roll as you do this.
That's a lot better.
It's very good. So you take his face and you start to like pray right in his face, like trying to make eye contact, and you get almost to the end of the prayer, and his eyes like suddenly snap focus on you, and he starts to cry as you're holding his face. He just starts to whimper and like cry, and you see just tears kind of just fall out of his eyes. And he's like looking at you confused for a second. What's going on? What happened?
You had a bad dream, Thomas.
Why am I soaking wet?
Don't worry about that right now. Tell me
Okay.
about your dreams.
My dreams? Well, I mean, I've been having dreams for the last couple nights. They got worse. I had a bad dream last night, the night before last night, the night before that. I tried to, fight the feeling that it gave me. It made me feel so sad and so despondent, but I swear this thing came to me, and it was this great big fish, and it had a beard full of snakes, and it was telling me things in my dreams, all these terrible things. It said, this, I don't know what it means, Ila Cthulhu Fatay, I don't know what that means, and he told me to walk into the dark and come to him, and then it showed me that what it was gonna do to me when I got there, and showed me all the others that were like it, and I don't know, it said that it lives in the dark castle, and that's where the fish will fly, and there's no stars or something like that. I don't know, it's really confusing. I really tried to kind of keep my head about it, but I'm so confused.
You did a very good job, Thomas.
Okay.
Now let's get you to your room. Let's get you into some nice warm clothes. Let's get you a nice hot bowl of stew.
All right, that sounds good. The other two are just kind of looking at each other over his shoulders like, what? Oh.
And this is a fucking shot in the dark. Can I make an occult roll to see if I recognize any of the shit he just said?
Sure. Ooh. So.
Can't believe that works. Even slightly.
I know, right? Let's see. So, you are not like 100% sure on what that could be. It doesn't sound like anything. I mean, it's to you sounds like maybe there's some kind of, you've heard of groups and things sort of worshiping kind of other gods and things like that, and offering up people to them and kind of to gain more power for their god and things of that nature. And you've heard that, in these situations, people can be maybe drugged and or taken advantage of if they're not of strong will to sort of bend them to doing something maybe that hurts themselves in order to serve the purposes of these other people who kind of serve these darker influences. But you're not really sure specifically what that might be. Like a fish with a snake beard is something that you might have to investigate further. You're not sure that you've ever seen that kind of as a significant thing somewhere else. But it's definitely, it could have a deeper meaning if there's somebody maybe doing something to influence these minors, especially if more than just this one person is having issues. Maybe something that they're imbibing in the town or some other way. Meanwhile, Baxter.
Meanwhile,
you go to get the doctor, and you kind of round the corner as the doctor's front door is sort of swinging open, and you see him kind of coming out on this porch, sort of looking around, and he kind of makes eye contact with you, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? What was that commotion a little while ago? Woke me up from a sound sleep."
You're needed at the what was the place?
The boarding house?
Boarding house closest.
Yeah, at the boarding
where
house.
The commotion was.
There was this man who is quite out of it, and we need someone with medical expertise.
Oh, well, one moment. Let me grab my bag. He runs back inside, picks up his bag, comes out, pulls the door shut behind him, kind of puts his hat on his head. All right, let's go and see if we can do anything about this. Come on, young man. And he quickly kind of double times up the street, heading back toward the boarding house with you kind of in tow behind him. At this point, there are a few people kind of poking their heads out of their front doors, kind of looking out to see, as they're kind of confused as to what all the commotion is. But he will rush up the street with you. And you all are coming back about the time that Sister Michal has finally gotten this fellow to sort of respond to her. And the doctor sort of walks up with Baxter in tow. Says, "What seems to be the problem here?" "Hello, sister."
Hello, doctor.
Samuel, wasn't it?
Yes.
Let me see here. And he sort of leans down, looking over the Thomas, and he says, "So, what happened? What's going on?" He kind of checks his temperature.
Man tried to drown themselves in that
trough.
That's no good. We've had a few incidents of... No, that's no good. We've had a few incidents of people causing harm to themselves. Were you sleepwalking, my young man? And he said, I don't remember any getting up and coming out here or any of it, so I guess so. He says, "I see, yes. Fortunately, I've seen a little bit of this. I'm starting to be concerned that maybe there's some sort of people are coming down with maybe some sort of fever that's causing these strange dreams and causing them to be sort of their equilibrium to be off, or possibly maybe it's a disease of the blood. I'm not 100% sure. I've started looking into it myself, but I haven't come to anything conclusive as of yet."
Has this happened before?
Yeah, there's been at least I've got 4 other cases of people who have their loved ones or their friends have noted that they've had some kind of issue with sleeping and some kind of night terrors, and then over the course of a handful of days or weeks, they've ended up in situations where they've unfortunately come to terrible ends.
I'm assuming relating to water and suffocation.
Yes, in fact, water has played quite a large role in this. In fact, most of the unfortunate accidents have had to do with water. There was one individual who ended up found them with their head in the laundry, unfortunately. Another fell into the creek, and a third, well, you know, it's possible to drink so much water that you die from it. At least this one seems to have.
Troubling times.
Indeed. But I'm still investigating. I'll have to look you over, my fine fellow, and see if there's anything that maybe connects you to any of the others. Just have to find that one thing that can sort of lead down the trail and fill in the holes for the puzzle, and you know, we might be able to sort this out if it's a medical instance.
Are you saying there's nothing similar between all these cases?
Aside from the mention of the lack of sleep, I haven't found anything that has tied them together. So,
It's nothing concrete.
not as of yet. I mean, like I said, I'm hoping. I mean, the Reverend here thinks, you know, obviously it may have to do with just paying for bad choices, but I mean, not all of these people who have fallen have been. 3 of the 4 were minors, but one was just a lovely young lady who I don't think she ever did anything wrong in her life.
May I ask who the young lady was?
Oh, well, her name was Maribel Sullivan. She was young woman who she was sort of just kind of getting out on her own. She had come into town probably about maybe last year. She took a job. She was helping with the newspaper for a while. Her name was Maribel. Just a nice young woman. I believe she was about 22 years old, but I mean, she had no connection to the others that had, you know, passed away as well. So I don't understand.
Connection to anyone?
No, not here. She just found her way here. Maybe a lost soul looking for a fresh start. I don't know her total background or where she. I think maybe she came in from Santa Fe, if I remember right.
And the miners, Thomas included, do they have any family in the area?
Thomas looks over. He's like, "No, I'm just here on my own. I took a job with the mine. Brought me in, and I got a little claim of my own, trying to get a little something going. So I came in from Silver City. Been here about 2.5 years."
I see. Thomas, this is going to sound strange.
Okay.
Have you by chance ever gone to any of the demonstrations about the miracle elixir, the cure, all?
Oh, yeah, I stopped by there, maybe about a month ago. I just stopped in and sort of watched the whole thing when I was in town for it one of those days. And I wasn't really in too much of a rush that day, so I kind of hung out and sort of took a look, but I didn't spend any money on it because I didn't have an extra dollar to spare.
I see. I see.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Thomas. Now let's get you up, as I said, and get you in some proper clothes. Doctor, if you wouldn't mind assisting me.
The doctor and his two friends, Michael and Henry, will help kind of get him up and start leading him back toward the boarding house. Lance kind of collects Julia and starts leading her back in. He says, "Oh, well, we'll have to get some food going. It's early. Have to get that taken care of."
Perhaps if you have any more of that delicious stew you could warm up.
Oh yes, we still have some of that. I'll warm that up for you.
And now I'm going to beeline over to Samuel and Baxter.
Any news?
I have a theory and bits of disconnected news and information.
Well, let's hear it.
The other victims of this troubled sleeping that has been related to water in dreams have been 3 minors and 1 woman who worked for the newspaper. All of them, including Thomas, are relatively isolated individuals who moved here without any prior attachments. And I must conclude my end result is they would be perfect prey for someone who wanted to, if you will forgive the potentially theological bend to the terms, who wanted to influence them into terrible choices. And I do not mean drinking.
That's a little concerning.
Very. I have a connected hypothesis, but unfortunately I don't have a starting point wherein I could connect the threads. I think potentially, and this is entirely based on speculation, I think that it may be possible that the procurer of the miracle cure may perhaps have decided that he is no longer satisfied with customers who bring him problems, but rather seeks to create his own customer basis. Unfortunately, that puts forward the idea that somehow this man has some kind of narcotic or other form of chemical that would cause troubled sleeping, and this would then lead these people to seek aid in his miracle cure, which presumably is some manner of opioid, which would get them addicted, and then accordingly, they would do whatever he wished.
That sounds all well and good, but I kind of have a confession to make. All this talk of water, I had a dream last night that involved water to some degree, and we haven't, at least I haven't, interacted with this salesman as of yet. And at this point, I'm just worried that I might potentially have an issue like this fellow.
You had a you had a dream last night where tell me about the dream.
There was a lot of water.
Like an ocean, as if you were floating in the ocean.
Yes. And maybe there was something there. I'm not particularly sure on the details.
Like another person?
Couldn't tell you. Probably not.
No, that it's just, forgive me. I'm getting entirely ahead of myself. I confess that I also had a troubling aquatic dream last evening.
That's deeply unsettling.
Yeah.
Strange. I didn't really have those kind of dreams.
Did you have any kind of dreams?
Might slept soundly. Maybe this dream happens to to older people, perhaps. Like, you have to be of mature age.
I don't want to rule out the possibility, but that sounds
ridiculous.
I was going to say far-fetched to spare the child, but
I think they've seen enough.
I admit I am not nearly so versed in science as Mr. or is it Dr. Smith? Do you have a doctorate in geology? Or
I don't think so.
Huh. I'm not so versed in science as Mr. Smith, but it seems fantastical, and frankly the stuff of penny dreadfuls and other dime novels to imagine anything, even a particular musical note only being perceived by a particular age range. It's completely ridiculous.
My studies are of the solid
Wink
nature.
The future.
My studies are only of the earth, nothing of the human mind. This is beyond me. I have no idea dreams or what they stand for.
Unfortunately, as far as I can tell, neither do most medical professionals. What the hell? Can I do a medicine roll to see if I can ascertain any kind of narcotic substance that would induce troubling dreams and insomnia in people of a particular age range over a radius of a town?
Sure.
And I am aware that this is a completely bullshit roll, but I'm gonna do it. I'm committing.
Wow.
What?
So, obvious thoughts come to mind. I mean, obviously, any kind of
Really?
alcohol. I mean, yeah, jeez. I mean, alcohol would be a possibility. You also, you know, there's likely, depending on the area that you're in, there could be some natural herbs or things like that that some maybe could induce that kind of sensation, especially if somebody were to be able to get it so that it's spread out throughout a wider group of people. Maybe, so if someone is distributing something that a wide base of people is taking and they're putting something into it, but there are, you would say that you have heard of those things being very possible. Obviously, it would be someone would have to be very twisted in a sense to simply go ahead and douse people in general with something of this nature to give them sort of nightmares or like waking dreams, or just to completely mess with their heads. Like, but it's definitely something that could be possible.
Yeah, like I don't want to give Sister Michal the ergotism theory about the Salem witch trials. But wait, when was penicillin invented?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I mean, discovered. Penicillin
Right.
was invented when mold happened.
True.
In 1928 by Alexander Fleming.
Ah, so we still aren't there yet.
Nope.
A little bit off.
Yeah, so I relay this to Samuel and Baxter and say that it still sounds exceptionally far-fetched and bizarre, and the mind that would conceive of such a thing would have to be exceptionally twisted. But then again, what if a con artist must do such things, then they shall.
See, I was going to suggest the drink, but unless you're secretly hiding something from us, sister, that would rule that out.
No, I haven't partaken.
Maybe we should finally visit the salesman then.
Indeed. I believe it was mentioned that he shows up at around noon.
I was thinking,
Yes.
if it is something we had consumed, maybe it was the stew. We
Are
all
you
had it.
suggesting that Lance drugged us? That Lance over there?
I doubt it. Maybe someone is using him. And
I mean,
That part is possible.
and there is something fishy going on with the cattle.
Indeed. The cattle.
have we had that cattle? I remember it being rabbit stew.
No, forgive me, I was jumping from one thought to the next, that potentially, if this was deliberate poisoning to try and manipulate vulnerable people, that acquiring cattle could be a potential end goal. But I'm extremely getting ahead of myself.
Well, they seem to not run out of it, so it's possible there's some sort of origin with that.
Indeed.
You see a slightly heavy set gentleman in a suit coat with kind of messy mottled red hair and a big bushy red mustache. He had kind of been standing back when everything was going on, and out of the way. But you see him now. He's sort of kind of comes wobbling over towards the three of you as you're talking, and excuse me. You're new here, aren't you? Harris Clemens, Shady News. Curious if I could get your statements on what you saw here this morning, outside of the office here, and your thoughts and any news from outside of town, if you brought any in, since you obviously came in only recently.
Well, there was this man who had strange dream and became hysterical and drowned themselves. Well, all
Attempted to drown himself. He was not successful, thankfully. Thank the Lord and His grace.
Were you witness to the actual incident of him attempting to throw himself and drown himself?
No.
And where were you all at the time of the incident and that took place?
We were at the church.
Oh, you were at church. And can I get each of your names?
Baxter.
Young man. Okay. And you, sir?
Samuel.
Last name. What are your last names?
Duff-Banford.
Duff-Banford.
And Smith.
And sister?
Yes.
Do you just go by sister?
I believe that will suffice.
And any further comments? Anything that you noticed? I noticed you up close and personal talking to the man. Did he divulge anything of interest to you?
The counseling that I offered the young man is between him, myself, and the Lord our God. I would prefer it if you left him to acquire some peace during what is going to most definitely be a troubling time.
Oh,
and
well,
I would advise everyone of the same.
Yes, I will. I mean, I won't speak to the young man. I'll let him get some rest, but I do want to sort of follow up with him and see if he can shed any light on. Okay. What about any? He turns back toward Baxter and Samuel. What about any outside? Have you brought any news from outside of town? You know, anything that I can put in tomorrow's or the late edition paper?
Do we know any current events that we would know of?
That's a good question.
In wider U.S.
1877. What happened?
On this day.
That's a very good question. I got no results for 1877 New Mexico paper. That's sad.
The first telephone line was installed between Boston and Somerville, Massachusetts.
Ooh.
Would we know about that?
I have no idea.
I like how far that is.
Considering how far, let's see. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. Saints Day procession.
There is apparently a railroad strike in Baltimore and Ohio.
That's interesting. So, yeah, you could probably fill him in on things that we don't actually know because I don't remember history.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Canadian, so I'm out.
Excellent.
I'm even further away, so I don't know any idea.
I guess Samuel will give him the some sort of local scuttlebutt from the next town over that he might have picked up on the way in, just to kind of divert him from say anything else untoward towards the sister.
Excellent. Sounds good. He will make notes in his notepad, and then, oh, thank you very much for your time, and I will I'm gonna go follow up with a few other people. I may have more questions if things come to light. And he kind of turns and quickly kind of putters off in the direction of Marshal Otis and the doctor, where the doctor went, kind of to go see if he can follow up maybe with Michael and Henry, the two friends of the fellow, and just disappears.
I don't much care for gossips.
Listen, we had to give him something or else he would have just kept asking questions.
Oh, absolutely. I was referring to that man. I did not mean to cast aspersions on your indulging the snake so he would not bite you, as it says in the Bible.
No offense taken. Shall we?
Let's.
I don't know. I don't know where we're going, but
out of character, Baxter, did you mention your job interview?
Yeah, I did.
Um,
And it's in the around noon.
Yeah, you're supposed to hear back from Alexander, the gentleman that you spoke to, sometime around noonish. He was supposed to get back to you with contact information.
what time is it now?
It is
That's a good
basically
question.
like early. It's like a little before, probably it's a little before 6:30 a.m. You were all woken with the sun to this
and the splash.
ruckus. Yes, so it's quite early in the morning, basically.
Anything else we wish to look into till then?
Breakfast.
That'd be nice.
You can see inside the door, the open door of the boarding house, Lance is puttering away, preparing food for the early risers.
That would be us.
Yep.
After
Better or
you.
worse.
I'm gonna try and snag a pouch, some sort of pouch, like a sack, a small sack.
All right. Are you
From
just looking
like
for
the
any
general
that...
store or stealing it off of someone?
I'm not stolen anything at this point, and so
And you resent the insinuation. Got it.
and now it's my chance.
So are you're looking to sort of just snag one that's somewhere that's just available in the moment?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you roll me a luck roll to see if you see one sort of within sight.
Okay. I need to find the.
Oh, there's
Oh,
luck.
nice. So looking around, you notice kind of on the opposite corner of the basically this gentleman dunked himself into the trough outside the Shady News building, and on the opposite corner from that is the livery with the stable and such, and you do see where they have some extra things like saddlebags, some extra bags and things like that, sort of kind of just off inside the stable area. Do you want to try to go and just acquire one quickly?
Yep.
All right. So, are you being sneaky about this?
Yes.
So you can roll me a stealth roll to see how sneaky you are.
Oof.
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 I'm gonna use my my.
I will say, do not forget you can spend luck. You could spend
Oh, yeah.
4.
I'm gonna spend 4 luck.
Yeah, that's a success.
Yes. So you, as Sister Michal and Samuel walk toward the boarding house and you sort of walk with them, you sort of slip back and give them the slip. And why don't you just make me a spot roll to see if anyone else is sort of paying attention or around at the moment when you're trying to do this.
Spot hidden. Oof.
All right, so you don't notice anybody around, like looking or noticing, and you can see that these are kind of just hung inside this little open area toward the side of the livery building. You do know when you came into town, the livery is run by a mother and her son, or probably maybe 16, 17-year-old son, but you don't actively see them around as you sort of zero in on this collection of bags and things. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I just wanna like take one.
All right, so why don't you give me a sleight of hand roll to snatch one of these bags.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my automatic success on this.
All right, sounds good. So you reach in, and
Using your automatic success to steal from a mother and her son who have been nothing but kind to us.
there's an instant where you reach and you, for just a second, you don't notice as you like start to knock over like this rake that they use to clean out the horse stalls, and at the last second like stick your foot out and like catch it so it doesn't clatter over, slip the bag from the hook and right the rake and turn around. Doesn't look like anyone has noticed your actions.
The smooth criminal.
And I will go to the what is the boarding house, right?
Okay. And I know you saw it, but Samuel gets an advantage. Thank you, BlinkDog182, for the advantage. So I've added that to the overlay, so we remember these things. All right, so Sister Michal and Samuel, you enter the boarding house, and I have no idea what that was. You enter the boarding house,
Is that
and
you, Satan?
there is a booming sound that I could hear over my headphones, which I'm not sure what that even happened. So we'll find out eventually, I hope. And for just as you sort of walk in and look for, to find a seat, for just a second, you sort of, Baxter's like not right behind you. And then Baxter kind of just comes in the door like a beat or two afterward. Coming
So
in
glad you could
behind
join
Baxter, yes. Coming in behind Baxter, you see a very well-to-do dressed gentleman, wearing sort of a top hat, and he has a younger like girl on his arm. It looks almost like probably his daughter, perhaps. She's young enough to probably 12, 13 years old, dressed in a little dress. And he strolls in and looks around. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Word has reached me that there's been some kind of a bit of an incident this morning. Is everyone all right? I just thought I'd stop by and Lance. Oh, hello, Mayor. Welcome. Can I get you in hello, Margaret. How are you? Hello. And can I get you anything? He says, what? We've already had something to eat this morning. We're up quite early. But thank you. Hello. He sort of stops, looks over at the three of you. New faces. Hello. I am Mayor Dobson of the town of Shade. Welcome.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I haven't seen you you three before. What brings you to our small community?
We just arrived last night, right?
Ah. Yesterday, yeah. I'm sorry. This is my daughter. This is Margaret. Margaret, say hello. She's hello. Hi.
Hello, Margaret. It's lovely
Hello.
to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you too. So, are you finding our small, quaint little town hospitable?
It is very eventful.
Yes, I am concerned. I see that gentleman looks like he's got a puddle underneath him over there, and but the doctor and the good reverend seem to be attending to him at the moment. So, I'll wait and talk to them when they're finished. But oh, good morning, Harris. And you see the disgruntled, heavy-set newspaper man just kind of look over, Mayor, and he's sort of leaning in, trying to listen in to anything that's being said by the doctor and the reverend. And so
Perhaps I should go join Mr. Harris for some breakfast.
he's a cantankerous old fellow, but he does his best to fill in the news and keep us all informed here in Shade. Good do with the
Indeed.
company. Yes, yes. Anyway, well then I won't keep you if you're going to go about your business. I'm going to just see what else I can find out. That's Julia over there. Let me go talk to her. Margaret, come along. You enjoy Julia's company. If you need anything at all, just you can always look up myself. My wife is at home if I'm not, and she'll send for me if you need something.
Good to know.
Thank you for the
Excellent.
generosity.
Oh, of course. He sort of tips his hat and puts it back on. Come now, Margaret. Let us... Julia! Yes, hello. Good morning. And he sort of wanders off to go over and talk to Julia and Lance.
Speaking of Lance, can we get some food, please?
Do you, motion to him?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, Mayor. I have to attend to my guests. He comes running over. Sorry about that. What can I get for you?
Some breakfast would be great.
Aha, excellent. We want some eggs. How about, do you want any steak and eggs this morning?
Just the eggs will be fine.
All right. And the rest of you?
I will also have just eggs.
And young Baxter, yes.
I will have the eggs.
Eggs, and eggs. Excellent. I will be back. And he quickly runs back to collect and make your eggs for you. He says, kind of putters out back, goes to collect some eggs from the chickens in the coop out back. And your breakfast is being prepared as we speak. So, there are a bunch of small conversations now going on all about you. You still have you have not seen Marshal come down. You do notice, if you look up at the landing, the chair that was outside Marshal's door is 3 doors down and just at the top of the stairs. So it definitely looks like it got knocked over and kicked aside at some point during the course of the night since you left.
Oh, that doesn't bode well.
I suppose we should check on him. They.
Yes, perhaps just a quick peek to ascertain that they're still alive. And I'll go do that just to be quick.
If you don't mind.
Not a bit.
So, sister, you go up the stairs, go to the door. It's currently closed. What do you want to do?
Is it locked?
It is not locked.
I'm just going to peek in for a few seconds, see if I can make sure that Marshal Wallace is still breathing.
Okay. Just roll me a spot check real quick.
Okie dokie. So that would be spot hidden.
Yes. You have been on fire tonight. It's crazy. I love it.
I will never roll this well again, ever.
So, you look
My D&D game tomorrow, I'm going to just die.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're taking all of it. So, you look in and you sort of watch for a couple beats, and you do see the Marshal moving in the bed and also breathing, maybe sort of turning a bit restlessly, but appears that they're asleep. You also note that there is a that appears to be on the floor near the bed. That looks like maybe the Marshal got sick at some point during the night. There is a small pile over there. But otherwise, the Marshal seems all right. You do notice that perhaps they must have gotten up at some point because their boots are on as they're back in bed sleeping. So, and you know that that Julia helped take their boots off last night. So, it looks like perhaps the Marshal did get up at some point, but has since collapsed back into the bed, but is still breathing.
Good. I will just quietly close the door. Going to put the chair back upright properly.
And put it right outside the door again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And while I'm away from everyone else, I'm going to just have a quick moment to myself to be like, what the fuck is going on in this town? And that's it.
Okay. So downstairs, while the sister is checking in on your acquaintance, Lance does bring you over your plates with your eggs and looks around. Can I get you anything else?
Something hot to drink, please. Would be great.
How's the coffee sound?
Sounds amazing.
All right. Coffee it is then. And you, Baxter? Coffee? Oh, what about, you want bacon? I can make you bacon. I didn't even ask about bacon.
Sure.
Yes, haha. Excellent. Coffee, bacon. Yes, that sounds good, right? Yes?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm so just befuddled this morning, huh? And he sort of goes dashing back over to put on some bacon and get it ready. He yells across, does anyone want whiskey in their coffee? No? Yes? No? Alright, no. It's fine.
Go on, say yes. The sister's not there.
Samuel
I can't see you, only God.
Samuel wants to, but after the night he had last night and all the other stories of sleeplessness and causing all this, he's starting to second guess his habits.
Just saying.
Now's the time.
I'll pass on that. Thank you very much, though.
All right, that's fine. No worries. I'm going to have some in mine. You see him pour a little in his coffee. And then after a little bit of time, the sister comes back, and as you do, you see Lance already sort of getting the bacon and putting it together. Comes over with the plate and like 3 cups of coffee. puts them all on the table. Haha.
Thank you very much, Lance.
You're very welcome. I hope that your accommodations last night were comfortable. If they are not, you can always come and stay here, and we have very good accommodations. And it's not every night that people jump into a trough, let me tell you, because that is a first that I have seen. Whew. Yes?
I mean, yeah, we know that how they did things, so I don't know. I was gonna roll perception, but I think he's still in the truth.
Thank you for your offer.
Indeed.
All right,
Hopefully we will not have to take advantage of it.
No, I mean, the Reverend, he, you know, if he offers you comfortable bed, then it's very kind of him. But, you know, like I said, if you're looking for the best bed in town, we have the most comfortable.
Duly
Okay.
noted. Just remember, pride is a sin. Forgive me, that was a joke.
Ah, very funny. Haha.
A little bit of theological humor.
You have, yes, yes, haha, very funny. I'm going to go over Julia, come help your father over here. We're very busy this morning. He sort of wanders away. So you're left to your breakfasts. The commotion has died down for the most part. Henry and Michael get Thomas off to get him changed and kind of cleaned up, maybe put him back to bed for a little bit. You see the doctor and the Reverend sort of walking out together, kind of heading back as they sort of talking kind of together, maybe going over what happened as they kind of go out on the porch and head up the main road. Marshal Otis sort of leaves a little behind them. He's kind of in conversation with both the mayor and Harris from the paper for a few extra minutes, and then he sort of crossed the room. He tips his hat at the three of you and kind of exits as well. And so the crowd quickly sort of dies back down until it's just you all and Harris left, and Harris sits down to a plate of eggs and bacon, and the mayor and his daughter walk back by. The mayor tips his hat again, and don't forget, if you need anything at all, just don't hesitate to ask. And I hope that your stay in shade is good and little less eventful than this morning, maybe. Have
can
a
but
wonderful
hope.
day. Yes, we can, but yes, you are very right. Have a wonderful day. Come, Margaret, say goodbye. Bye. Take care.
I wanna know. I'm gonna how is the girl just really shy or just scared or something?
Do you want to make a psychology roll?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. She doesn't seem to be scared, but she is a little bit, maybe the sight of strangers, perhaps. She's not familiar with the three of you, so maybe she's a little quieter, but it's hard to tell because this is your first sort of meeting with the young woman. But nothing seems off with her so much as just, you know, strange faces maybe. So what do you all want to do? You have a whole morning ahead of you. You know that the show is not until about noontime for the special elixir. And Baxter, you know that you're just kind of hanging out and waiting. You did mention, I believe, to Alexander that they could find you around the boarding house in the afternoon. So he said he'd send word, I think, there.
Mm.
So you have a handful of hours to decide. You can go about doing some things. You can, if you just want to hang about, we can move forward to a little before noon.
Do we have any other leads currently other than the salesman and this job interview?
I was just thinking that the marshal is kind of strange. He's either lazy or hiding something, because he shouldn't have had that taken that long to come to see what was going on with the man who took a dip.
How far is the Marshals to where that all took place?
Just block away.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sort of right around the corner from the boarding house. You all who were at the church actually had to come much further to get down here than the marshal
And got
would
there
have.
sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I see what you mean, Baxter. That is rather... does speak ill of his character in one way or another.
So what do you want to follow him around or something, or take a look at?
Questioning him likely will not take us anywhere.
No, I have to agree there.
The only thing I could possibly think of to occupy our morning would be asking around town about the deceased miners or Maribel Sullivan to see if we can get any closer to a discovery as to what precisely is going on.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Maybe we should ask Mr. Harris. He's still here. Oh, I said maybe we should ask Mr. Harris. He's still here, and
Oh yeah,
a known gossip.
Yes, that's that. Like yes. Oh, okay.
Very good. Sorry, out of character, I misinterpreted that as a
So yeah, Harris is still, he's sitting down, he's eating his eggs and bacon and drinking his coffee and making notes in his small notebook that he had with him. What are y'all doing?
Well, I want to go over, but I also don't want to pull focus for the entirety of this episode.
Yeah. I can go. I will finish my plate and my coffee, and I will see. I will go to the table where the Harris is, and I was can I take a seat?
Sure. Do you have some more information you want to share with me? Pull up a chair.
Yeah, Okay, so I'm gonna think about this. I need to choose my words carefully here. Okay, so I wanna go through the information in my head. Okay, so we know about we only have some hypotheses of what is going on.
Yep.
So nothing concrete. So I will not share those. Okay, so Um, are you familiar with the other incidents that have happened here?
Oh, other incidents. What do you mean?
Well, I got an exclusive information from associate of mine, and they told me that there were 4 other cases of similar nature.
You mean the recent unfortunate incidents that have occurred?
Like every single one of them is connected by some form of water.
Yes. There's there was the young man who guess he drank himself to death, but it wasn't, the drinking himself to death that you might think. There was the other that they found floating in a tub of laundered sheets. There was the other gentleman who, I'm not exactly sure what happened specifically with him. And then, of course, there was poor Maribel. Yes, she was a sweet child, and she assisted me at the newspaper office since arriving in town, and they unfortunately found her in the creek. And I mean, such a good soul, bright young woman. I thought she had a knack for the future and in the news, and I was trying to help her cultivate her skill set, maybe to move on to a larger city, bigger opportunities, if she could find them. But unfortunately, God rest her soul, was not meant to be.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that man of the paper is as observant as you are.
I know, but I mean, I can tell you, poor Maribel was she too was having horrible difficulty with sleeping, leading up to her unfortunate accident. She I would catch her nodding off in the office more and more as she'd tell me she was just having such a hard time, and she tried some laudanum to sort of help with it a little bit, give it, maybe ease things up a little at one point, apparently, but that wasn't helping. So she said she didn't keep up with the habit. But yes, it's I just don't know what to make of it. I mean, and now this fellow nearly getting himself tripping and falling into the trough the way he did. It's just too many incidents. It's, lack of sleep can be very dangerous, apparently.
Would I know what laudanum is? Is it some sort of like sleep medicine or something?
It's sort of I've never taken it myself, but it's sort of maybe helps with pain, I think, or helps with sleep. I'm not 100% sure, but apparently she got it from someone over at the saloon over there, the Silver Shaft Saloon. Apparently someone suggested that it was a good option for her to give it a go. Might ease her nerves or something along those lines, was apparently the what she was told.
Damn, and that's supposed to be the classy saloon.
Oh, well, they come in all kinds.
And tell me. And what you'll be hearing about the... Have you heard anything about the miners?
Oh, the ones that passed away.
Yeah.
Nothing specific, as I said. Just, I mean, like most, they the three. I mean, they did all work at the Shallot mine. I'm not sure if they worked closely together. I wasn't familiar with them personally. If they did visit town, I probably couldn't have put a face to a name for those three. I don't talk to the miners a lot. There's some turnover. Mining accidents happen, but obviously these three didn't die in the mine. So that's sort of ruled that out. I mean, perhaps something, if they dug up something and maybe were exposed to some sort of toxin from underground or something. I'm no scientist, no doctor, so I couldn't tell you, but I mean, when you dig in the earth, I'm sure that there's all sorts of things to be surprised by down there.
I'm sure. I need to... Sorry, I'm still thinking. I don't think I have anything else to question. Are you close? Are you familiar with the town marshal? Are you close?
Marshal Otis? Hosper's, he's a stickler for the law. He's a straight shooter that since I've known him. Honest fellow. Always looking to make sure that wrongs are righted and all of that like. I've never known him to take a bribe, never known him to shortchange anyone as far as if justice needs to be served. Marshal Otis is a good man for it. I mean, he isn't without having suffered his own losses. His the sheriff that worked under him passed away earlier this year, and that was sad for him to have that happen.
Really?
Oh yes.
And do you know what happened to him?
Well, it was very kept very low key, but I heard that the man had perhaps done it to himself, and it's very sad. And I feel bad for Marshal Otis. It was I believe a very good friend of his. They had worked together for quite some time. So, and the burden of the law has now fallen to Marshal Otis on his own throughout this last year.
Did the sheriff have any close friends? Any family?
He was not a family man. As aside from the marshal, I mean, he was good friends, I believe, with the mayor. He and the mayor got along very well. I think he enjoyed Lance's company from time to time. He also, I know when he was not on duty, he spent some time over at the Silver Shaft Saloon. He and the barkeep over there, Joe, they seem to get on very well, from what I know.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, I need to return to my companions here.
Yes, and I'm finishing my breakfast up and must get back to the newspaper office and start to fill out some of the details here for the afternoon edition, as I've missed the morning edition with this story.
Have we asked this person before about Boston? Or that was the other gossip, right? The small guy?
Yeah, the one who's who's writing fiction rather than nonfiction.
Right. Okay. I guess as they're going to leave, Samuel will kind of step in and I'd like to ask you something. I'd like to ask you about if you know anything about Boston, that fancy fellow with the guns.
Oh, the gunslinger there. That's yes. I've not a lot. He's kind of I've never been able to nail him down for an exclusive. He keeps himself to himself. Doesn't stay in town that I've found. He must have a camp somewhere in the hills, perhaps. But he's if his reputation is anything, he's a dangerous fellow for sure.
Oh, I could tell you that's totally accurate. Seen it firsthand.
You have a history? Whoop! He pulls out the notepad and flips to a new page. You have a history with this Boston fellow, my friend.
Not me personally, but I was there yesterday when he decided to cut someone's day short, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I would. So you were a witness to the death of Arkansas. Can you describe what happened to me? I was unable to get many details from that tight-lipped fellow over there at the Rattler's Nest. He likes to keep his secrets, doesn't he? But he wanted me to pay him. Can you believe that? I'm not paying him if I can get the information elsewhere.
Well, seeing as you provided some information for us, I don't see why not. We could do a little trade here. I guess you might know Arkansas better than I. He seemed to be a rather boisterous and loud individual, and really didn't like being told what to do. And Boston really didn't do much talking.
Well, yes, as far as I know, Arkansas, better known as Jedediah Cantrell, do believe that when he was as young as 13 years old, I believe he rode with Bloody Bill Anderson and William Quantrill, and after that went on to the war, and after the war just couldn't get away from the idea of continuing to take out those that he deemed his enemies during the time of the war, and just became this terrible ill-tempered fellow who you could always count on to shoot a man in the back before he'd actually draw fair with him in the end of the day.
Yeah, war does that to people.
Yes, unfortunately.
I mean, there's not much to describe. That Boston fella's mighty quick with a gun, and he was pretty darn accurate too, if you ask me.
Yes, I do believe, didn't he shoot out the eyes? It was the description I did end up getting from that little, that novelist fellow that was at the bar. He hushed up, though, when the bartender told him he was going to cut him off.
Something like that, although that man might have embellished a little facts here and there.
Ah. Have you ever read his Kid Lightning novels? They're quite the fun little stories and tales that he comes up with there. He says they're all true.
Well, I don't know about that. No, I have not. I might pick him up if I ever find myself with that reading material.
Ah, yes, well, they're entertaining, if nothing else, let me tell you.
Good to know. Well, I'll let you be on your way and enjoy yourself.
All right, well, if you find yourself at the wrong end of Boston's guns, maybe run.
Yeah, I don't intend on finding myself in that position, but you never know.
Very good. Well, yes, and he slurps down the rest of his coffee, picks up his last slice of bacon, stands up, kind of dusts some egg crumb off the jacket that he's wearing, buttons the bottom button. Good day, thank you for the information. And he scuttles off with his notepad in hand, muttering to himself like he seems to be like working on headlines for the evening edition.
Okay.
Yay. So we have someone selling substances in the fancy tavern.
Indeed.
And the Marshal Sheriff met suspicious and
Peculiar information all around. But what are we to do with that?
well, all we know about the sheriff is that he was only friends with the marshal. What was the second guy?
So he was friendly. He seemed to be close, at least with Marshal Otis. Mayor Dobson and him seemed to have a friendship. And he spent a lot of time hanging out with the barkeep Joe from the Silver Shaft Saloon.
That was the fancy one. So
That's the fancier of the two saloons, yes.
The one that apparently people are selling a laudanum out of.
Possibly.
I mean, it is only 35 cents, so.
It's kind of easy to get.
Well, it sounds to me like we may have to take a venture to the Silver Shaft. At some point or another. I doubt that a saloon, even one as reputable as that, would be open this early, but perhaps later.
Yeah, it seems to be all our activities are for later in the day.
So true. If only there was some way that we could just stare off into the distance and move time forward.
We can, if you
Press
all...
P.
Guess if you all decide to relax and just maybe take it easy first thing in the morning. Maybe you went back to the church and got some sleep because you had to wake up so early.
There are worse ideas.
And
And I can
We
definitely
can-
relate to wanting some sleep.
yes, but we so we can roll forward in time to a little bit later in the morning, closer to the noon hour. As you all kind of collect yourselves, you have breakfast and then kind of rest and sort of recuperate from your rough first evening
And rough first morning.
and very rough morning. And what do you want to look into as the noon hour is approaching?
Should we split up and you guys go to the saloon and I will be waiting for my informant?
Well, I think our noontime thing was the salesman.
Yes, the elixir.
I guess we could do that. I mean, really can't be in two places at once that I know of.
No, I don't believe there's any such science, though, again, I am not a woman of such.
And Baxter, you do know that they're going to send someone if you wanted to. You think you could leave word with Lance if you were going to be elsewhere, and he could send someone to get you, so you wouldn't have to just hang around and wait for this person to show up.
We could do that.
If you wanted to go and check out the medicine show or do something else in between, rather than just waiting around for your contact Alexander to show up.
It's it's kind of close anyway, right?
Yeah, it's just down the block. Like literally the wagon where this miracle elixir apparently is sold from kind of sits right at the edge of the main road, like heading into town. and the boarding house is just on the opposite like block, maybe a few hundred feet, not even down the road.
Yeah, we could just first drop the word. I will drop the word that I'm be at the show, and we go see the show.
All right,
We can always ask later.
it's true.
Indeed.
So, indeed. So the three of you make your way down, and it's literally just a couple hundred feet down the street, and you can see the cart that you had seen when you rode into town that was all kind of closed up, is sort of set side, kind of. It's got the back open. There's been like a platform sort of set up to kind of double as a stage. There's a banner that's kind of stretched across this small platform area from one end to the other, and written in very nice large text so you can see it kind of from a little bit of a distance are the words "The Miracle Modern Medicine" in a very nice script. And you see a fellow strutting across this platform as a handful of people are sort of starting to gather out in front, and he is dressed in a spectacular plaid suit. He's wearing a bright red top hat, and he's sort of strutting back and forth. You see him kind of stretching. Seems like he's clearing his throat, and as people start to gather, he looks out to the crowd, and he smiles a big broad smile. He's got this big kind of bushy dark mustache, and when he goes to talk, it kind of you can't see his mouth, but the mustache kind of moves. It's so big and bushy, and he says, welcome, hello, Jeffrey Curtis Automole here, and welcome, the Miracle of Modern Medicine Cure, yes, indeed, and I am here to present you with all of the wonderful and modern wonders that it can accomplish for each and every one of you. And as he goes to start into his speech and his spiel, I think we're going to fade away and come back to the Modern Medicine Show next session.
Excellent.
As he tips his big old top hat. And so as you have talked to and kind of gathered some interesting information in town today, we will come back around to this on 2 weeks. And why don't we go around?
Hell yeah.
And we'll do, if anyone has any plugs or anything, and comments, anything about the game or anything like that, we'll go for it. And we'll start with Joanna. What's going on?
Well, comment-wise, all I can really say for right now is thank you so much for running. And you can follow me on Thrifter. It's not really doing too much, but hope to have some things in the pipeline.
Awesome. And hello, Ray. What do you got going on?
Yeah, I'm trying to work up to streaming some video games again, probably soon. At Tankstein here on Twitch. Got some things kind of coming up in the far off future, but not far off, but like near future. But that's not ready to be out there yet, I guess. So
Okay.
a little quiet on my end.
No problem. And Taru, what do you have going on?
Nothing much. I've been meaning to get back to the streaming because I haven't just been in hiatus. And you can find me pretty much as Anarchdovi pretty much everywhere, on Twitter, on Discord, on here on Twitch.
All right. And I'm Jeanette. You can find me here every other Tuesday for this Call of Cthulhu game. On the opposite Monday, every other Monday, we're doing a different Call of Cthulhu adventure. And every other Sunday, so it'll be this coming Sunday, At 4:30 p.m. on this channel, we do Skull and Shackles as a D&D 5e adventure. And then on Saturday evenings every other week, I play Ghost of Saltmarsh on my friend Scotty Hood's channel. So just doing some various gaming and things like that. But thank you all. As always, this is a lot of fun. And I always wonder, like, what's going to happen? What are you guys going to find out? You know, where things are going to take it? Because I never know what clues are going to kind of get hooks. So it's always interesting for me too. But I'm having fun with this. Looking forward to the
Good.
Modern Medicine show next time. And thank you for the donations tonight from Blink Dog. And thank you to those who watch now and who watch later. And I hope everybody has a good week. Everybody gets some rest because I think we're all tired. And yeah, and Theater Nerd, we missed you, and we will see you next time, and we're thinking about you, so take care of yourself, and thanks everybody. We will see everyone later. We're gonna head out. Bye.
Bye.